Turn my microphone on would be helpful. How are you all? So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to hear from you. So let me know wherever, because there's lots of places this is being streamed. So please let me know where you're watching from in the world so that we can all come together in this lovely community. It's wonderful to catch up with you all. It's been a few months since I was live. So thank you so much for joining me. So yeah, let me know in the chat where you're all watching from, and just want to give you a big welcome. I also just want to thank you all for your ongoing support before we get started, because really I get so much information, so much feedback, so many lovely comments as well from people. So for this reason, I just want to share my love with you all and say thank you so much. And obviously to the Total Somatics members, you're just wonderful, because you're always giving me lots of questions and queries, and it helps me to create the membership that we all have together. And also, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's really nice, again, that you've been able to take this time to invest in yourself. So, yes, it's just great to get together. So, I'm just going to have a look at the chat before we get started. So, we've got somebody coming in from the US. So, hello, Paula. We've got somebody from Wales. So, hello, Amy. That's great. Yorkshire. Look, I love Yorkshire. When my husband and I got married, we went up to Yorkshire for our honeymoon, went up and stayed in York as well. And Bev. So, Bev is from my hometown or home county of Worcestershire. So, that's great to hear from you all. So, keep them coming in, and I'll keep sharing the love around with everybody. So, we've got a fair few things that we're going to be going through today. And because total somatics is really all about looking at how we can take care of our health and well-being. And hello, Jennifer from the US. So I just share Jennifer with you as well. So that's lovely to hear. Keep it coming, and I'll keep coming back to you all. But we get to the end of the year. That's why I like doing the live experience towards the end of the year, because it's a time for us to reflect, and look at what the year's been like. And I don't know for you, but there's been some wonderful times in the year for me and my husband, but there's been some incredibly difficult, very, very challenging times. And so, we realize that does help to build our resilience. It doesn't feel like it at the time, but, when you start to come out the other end, you do start to feel stronger for it and closer together because of the different things that can happen in life. So, this is really about us coming together, and looking at what we can do individually. Because I'm going to share some little slides with you as we go along, and I'd love your interaction too. But when we look at this, I'd love us to consider it for ourselves, because sometimes we can consider it for other people, but this is really a great opportunity for us to reset and recalibrate. So, what I'd like to share with you first is, when we think of modern life, it's pretty tough. We've got lots of balls that we've got to juggle in the air. So, first of all, I want us to consider mindset. Now, these can be quite tough images to look at, but why I want to share them with you for is that we all have our own personal life experience. We have things that have influenced who we are for today, the way that we talk to ourselves, which is known as that internal narrative or that internal dialogue. So I like to use the definition of an internal dialogue as basically the real-time conversation that we have with ourselves about ourselves. And the reality is that sometimes we can beat ourselves up emotionally, be really, really hard on ourselves. And the reality is we wouldn't talk to other people that way. But we seem to be really tough on ourselves. And as you can see here, the lens that we look through in life, so our perception on things, is heavily dictated and molded by our life experiences. So you can see here, it can be either we've had sickness or loved ones have had sickness. There could be some sort of trauma and abuse, neglect, hardship. And I've put in the bottom left about that homelessness, because I just want to share with you, if you haven't checked out a podcast from recent weeks ago from what I did, I talked about homelessness and how when I was about 18, my friend and I, when we lived in the city of Worcester, we actually went to a day centre for homeless people. And it was part of a project for psychology. But my friend Joe and I got so attached to talking to these people that we would go back on a regular basis outside of our studies. And what we started to realize talking to these people, some of them had actually been professionals, and they'd been caught up in entertaining their clients with taking them for lunch and having drinks. And then, in order to wind down after the day, they'd have some more drink. And then they became like high functioning alcoholics, to the point that eventually it impacted their work. And then from that, it impacted their relationships, their marriage, they lost their home, became homeless. And so I share that with you because sometimes when we look through our lens, it depends on what our experience has been like. But I can tell you, after that experience, it was quite sobering to realize, sorry, there's no pun intended there, but it really is, to look and think how that has actually been something that's molded and shaped my lens, how I look through with that sort of situation. So can you see how when we have life experiences, it does change our dimensions? And so when we consider our culture, where we've come from in the world, our upbringing, our belief systems, also things such as like our health status, and if we've had advantages or disadvantages in life, that will shape basically who we are today. And so, really, our subconscious is listening all the time to what we're doing. And our subconscious runs the show, basically. It's like this program, or this, it is like a computer program that's basically operating and noticing what we're doing all the time, and then starting to shape and mold us to who we are. So, this is why when we're kind of considering our behavior and our emotions, everything that's happening subconsciously or under our conscious control is starting to shift how we think about ourselves, how we talk about others, what we focus on through the day, because what we focus on does grow. So that can either be absorbing lots of negativity in the media or other things, and that starts to shape how we view the world, or we can start to create more empowering conversations and discussions and allow that to grow us. And that creates a much more healthy mindset and emotional response system for us. So, this is why I mention this, because within total somatics, we don't just look, and we will discover and go into movement shortly, but we don't just look at movement. Years ago, when I learned clinical somatics, it was very much focused on movement and posture. But I've got trauma therapy and other therapies in my toolbox, as it were. And I know that many times people can just do the movements and go through the motions. However, if they haven't addressed mindset and mindfulness, which are the other two components, the three pillars to good health, then we can really start to miss a few of the areas. Because when we get in pain with our muscles and our tension and our back and gut health, breathing, insomnia, all of these things, we need to look at what the programs are, what's happening subconsciously, what's running the show. Because if we're in a constant fearful, anxious state, that's going to change or dial up the stress centers in our brain and in our whole nervous system. It's going to make us hypersensitive, hyper alert. And as a result, it's going to affect our gut health. It's going to alter the muscle and tension and our posture, with our muscles. It's going to affect everything. It's also going to affect our sleep, because if your nervous system thinks you're in constant danger, it's not a safe or situation to go to sleep. You're constantly on high alert. So again, we have to consider, what is our mind doing? How are we nurturing our mind? Are we allowing it just to go into free fall, or can we do things to start to address the mindset? Obviously, within the total somatics membership, there is a huge toolbox for that. There's lots of strategies and techniques. But I just want us to consider today how we can start to become much more sensitive to these areas. Because again, regular patterns of speech and behavior show up in many, many ways with our mindset. And I know this is going to be an overlap, but I just, if you're standing up or you're able to stand up, I just want you to stand for a moment and I just want you to droop your shoulders forward, jut your head forward, and tuck your tailbone up and under. So you're really slumped forward. So if I go like this, just really slumped forward. Now, if you're in that position, how does that feel emotionally and energetically? Do you feel like you're going to take on the world? Do you feel full of confidence? Or do you feel it's a bit like, ugh, a bit apathetic, just no energy, no go, that sort of thing? Because that is basically what's happening, is whatever is mirroring in your body is a result of what your subconscious or the programs in your mind, in your head, are relaying to the muscles. So we can have that defeatist feel like really no energy and flat. However, if I get you now to draw your shoulders back, poke your belly out and stick your bottom out. So we're in this sort of situation. You said we want to run, we want to escape. What does that feel like? If you've got your chest sticking out, shoulders are back, you're looking high ahead, you feel more confident, don't you? You feel like, I'm going to take the world on. I've got this. I'm on a mission. And so literally you can see how however you hold yourself in your body has a huge effect on your mindset and emotional well-being. Now, what we need to remember is we want to get a happy medium between those two. And that's what total somatics teaches you. Because many people will be in the slumped posture all day. Many people will be in the go, go, go. And as we're going to learn shortly, if we're in that go, go, go all the time, that's not great for our health. So we need to have a flexibility and a resilience within our nervous system to be able to move in and out of these postures or these movements. And that's why we need to have a flexibility and resilience within our mindset. And that draws me back to when I started at the beginning. Do you remember I said to you that we've, different things happen in the year. We have great, exciting things, and then we have some real challenges. And it feels like a roller coaster like this sometimes, doesn't it? Up and down. But that is because we want to create a flexible and resilient nervous system. It doesn't feel great at the time going up and down with our emotions, but what it's doing is it's building capacity and growth and spectrum in our emotional toolbox. So instead of us just staying thinking we've got to be happy all the time, we know that that's not actually true. That's a fallacy to be happy all the time. We have a collection of emotions, and it's healthy to feel those emotions. But we also want to be able to allow that flexibility and resilience within the nervous system to come in and out of them. And so that's why I just want to share that with you, because sometimes there's this positive psychology where we've got to be a certain way all the time. But it's actually really good to have a good cry, to feel a bit rubbish and flat, because that's when we can purge, we can bring lots of things out. And that can help us to also build more resilience within our nervous system. And so what I'd love to know is in the chat, if you want to just share with me, what are the common mindset or negative narratives can people have in the world that can really impact? If you can think of anything, because I'm just highlighting, but if there's anything you've come across over the time, things that can really impact or stop people from progressing in their life because they're held back by negative thoughts or negative narratives. It's really good to be able to identify these things. It can sometimes be that we just don't feel good enough, or we can have words or expressions that are said to us as we're youngsters, and we keep playing them over and over. So do let me know, have a think about it, and if you've got any thoughts, drop it in the chat, because it'll be really good to hear from you. But as we start to progress with what we're talking about here with our mindset, we've looked at how it impacts our posture. But also consider when we did those postures, drooping forward, setting our shoulders back, we know that it's having a change on a hormonal level, so on a chemical level in our body. It's also impacting our breathing. It's also going to be impacting our posture and our joints. So we start to get a lot of joint pain. We can get things like bursitis as well. And because our muscles and our posture is over the midline and it's going dominant to one way, it starts to accelerate the joint health on one or both sides of our body. So this is why it's really important that we consider how powerful our mindset is and how that translates into our musculature. So What I want to share with you next, if we can, is this one here, and this is about mindful. This is fascinating. I'm sure you'll resonate with this as well. Is that are we mindful, sticking lots of things in our head, or are we mindful and noticing? Because we've got digital distractions like never before. We've got notifications that are just pinging all the time. We've got 24-hour news, we've got deadlines, family dynamics, we've got economic issues that people are concerned about, there's global instability. So there's a lot of things that people can start filling their mind with and allowing it to overwhelm them. And we can see that this starts to create an intensity in our behavior because, again, underneath all this, the intensity is dialing up because we are creating more of a hypervigilant and a hypersensitive nervous system. So you start seeing that people are living in these stress behaviors where they're really snappy, they're short tempered, they might just retract or retreat. People have got different ways of behaving. But what we can start to also see is that, let me just show you. Can you see the little man in the hamster's wheel, or the little person in the hamster's wheel? What we can see here is that people can just live on high functioning anxiety. They just keep going and going and going. They feel guilty if they stop. However, underneath that program that's telling them to keep busy, there's often a lot of mindset or emotional things that are pushing them to keep going. It is that they're pushing their emotions down so that they can just stay busy, so they don't have to address the issues that are screaming really in their head to address. And so this cycle of living like this eventually leads to things like burnout. You can't keep working at this high level. It's increasing cortisol into our system when we're living like this. That increases inflammation. It messes with our hormones again. And remember, I mentioned before about insomnia. If we are living in high functioning anxiety, we are constantly on high alert. So, again, the nervous system doesn't know when it's safe to fall asleep. Because if we were in a danger situation, fleeing for our life, again, the last thing we'd be doing is having a sleep. That's what your nervous system does. And so, when we understand this, and again, in Total Somatics in the membership, there is so much that I explain within there. But when we truly understand how your nervous system is operating, your body and your brain are incredibly intelligent. The more I learn about the body and the brain, because you never stop learning in this area, the more awe and admiration I have, because it is incredible. We've got so much intelligence, and it's just learning how to harness the intelligence that we have within with the skills and the techniques that I can teach you. And so if we consider mindful in this sense, we've got all these distractions that are kicking off. And what it starts to do is it disconnects us from the rest of our body. And people just live in their head. They live in like a survival mode. And so if you were, again, fleeing for your life, you would just be problem solving, thinking in your head, how can I get out of this situation? You wouldn't be sitting there thinking, now, how's my quality of breathing going? Am I breathing deeply? What's my gut health like? You would be really focused on a cortical or very, very headspacey. And people are still like that now. So when they are like that, it's very hard for them to connect with their body. There's no impact, there's no embodiment that's happening at all. And that's because they're in a survival situation. If we continue living, I just disappear for a moment. So we have like a high functioning anxiety. And then basically what that will start to do is you live in your head, you don't notice what's happening from your neck down. And clinically, over the years, seeing people online and in person, what I've started to notice, well, you see it all the time, is they can't sense and feel from the neck down. So you ask them to sense and feel things, and they can't feel it because they are living in a survival situation or a survival setting. And so again, if remember, that's going to lead to chronic health conditions, it's going to lead to hypersensitivity in their nervous system. That's going to impact their pain perception. Again, pain perception is huge. So I talk about that in the Total Somatics membership. I teach you very powerful skills to dial down the stress response and deal with that pain perception. Because remember, if we can manage our pain, it helps us to just operate in a very much more functional, much more comfortable quality of life every day. And so again, if you want to share with me at all, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the common modern distractions that you're aware of that I may have missed because I could only put a few in the slides, which can pull people away from a mindfulness practice? Can you think of anything in particular? And if you want to, you can share it in the chat, please do. But it's looking at what can happen because it gets insidious if we aren't aware of what we're doing on a daily basis because we're just living subconsciously. We're completely unaware of our behaviors and our practices. If we're not drawing out and noticing what's pulling us away from being truly mindful, then that's really not going to help us move forward. So have a consider of how we can shift and change things so we start to become more embodied, which means we start to involve more than the head, but we start to feel and sense what's going on from the neck down. That's really powerful. Again, when I teach in the Total Somatics membership, I'm actually sharing with you how we can read our body from the inside out. And then you've got techniques and skills that you can use to recalibrate or reset where things have become a little bit dysregulated. So, one thing that can happen with this dysregulation is, and again, this is where people can start to just move away from noticing what's happening from their neck down, is because in healthcare situations, they are getting conflicting health prognosis and diagnosis. And it creates a huge level of overwhelm and a lot of pain, a lot of sensitivity in their nervous system. And can you see, I've got this picture down there with the brain with like, what do you call it? I can't think of it now, but the wire around it. And that is to show how sensitized your brain can become. And that can build up again from the mindset and the lack of mindfulness practices we have in our life. Because what happens here is that we just live in survival mode. And seriously, over the years, people have come to me here in practice, in my clinic or online, and they've seen so many health professionals, so many health experts, but they've given them conflicting health prognosis and diagnosis, and they mean it with the best intentions. However, at the end of it, there's somebody on the receiving end. And on that receiving end, they start to lose their identity. They don't know who they are, what they're supposed to do. One person's saying something completely different to the other person. And in the end, they get to a point, and I've had people mention this to me, that they've gone to their doctor and they've said, "Doctor, do I feel better?" Now, it could just be a phrase that they've used. However, we should really be able to sense and feel if we feel better within whatever course of treatment or practice that we're doing. But can you see here how that disconnect, if you're just living in your head because you're just taking in information, you're feeling overwhelmed and anxious, your chemistry and your biology in your brain has shifted and changed. It's become survival and stress. It's no longer embodying or noticing what's happening from the neck down. That is what's really powerful with total somatics, is bringing everything back, because this is what's happening. And you have got your own personal story here, so you'll know if this is the case with you or any loved ones that you know, is that you just basically are, someone once said to me they felt like they were just like on a conveyor belt, like in a factory, just going through and just being told some random thing, and really just left to it. So this is really about bringing back ownership and responsibility to ourselves, and also allowing us to feel that we've got skills and techniques and a deeper understanding of what's happening. So, for instance, today, what I'm sharing with you, it's kind of like a bit of a summary. We're kind of glossing over a lot of these areas. But if you ever want to join within the Total Somatics membership, I delve really deep into this work because, again, remember, I'm bringing in the trauma element, I'm bringing in the pain science, I'm bringing in the movement, which we're going to consider shortly, and lots of this rich banquet. The membership has got so much now. It's been for many years that I've been doing total somatics within the membership online. Thanks to the members over the time, they let me know what their pain points are, and then I'll create workshops and classes for them. So there's everything in there that you can imagine. And if there isn't, then I create that for people. So constantly people's experiences are helping to mold and shape what we have today within the Total Somatics membership, and that's going to continue anyway. But I want to share with you the third pillar. So we've looked at mindset, we've looked at mindfulness, and now we're going to look at movement. So again, within Total Somatics, this is the third pillar to good health and well-being. And so you can see here that with your movement, we have daily demands. We have a more sedentary life than ever. And what's interesting is our life has become more sedentary, but our nervous system has become more activated. So, what we have here is a very unhealthy relationship that's going on. You have a nervous system that thinks it's in danger because it's in constant pressure and stress mode. And so, instinctively, what it wants to do is flee or hide. But then we're being stuck for hours at, say, a computer, or when we're away from the computers, we're on mobile devices, and we're constantly creating an immobilized, tense, tight, rigid body. And yet the nervous system is highly charged underneath. So we've got a real discrepancy here. And what happens is your movement, or sometimes the lack of movement, will feed that information back to your nervous system to say that you're in a survival situation. That keeps your nervous system fired up, keeps the hormones firing up that's in a danger situation. And also your emotional makeup is affected by this. So remember at the beginning when I asked you to slump your shoulders forward or set your shoulders back, I asked you to do that not only just to notice how you were holding, but do you remember I said to you, how do you feel? Do you feel like, oh, apathetic, or do you feel like you could take the world on? That's why, because both of those are quite extreme survival postures or positions to be in. We can either be in that sort of feigning death, which is when we roll our shoulders forward. Again, if you watch a documentary, you're going to see animals walking along, and then a predator comes towards them. And what do? They either flee, so they either go running away, or they feign death and they make themselves as small as possible. Everything slows down, their breathing, their digestive function, they're playing dead. You see that with pets, if they're doing something similar, they might play dead. We do the same thing. When we go into a curled up position, we might be typing away on a keyboard with a deadline to meet, but our nervous system doesn't know the difference between perceived and actual danger. It doesn't know if we're highly stressed and curled up because we've got a predator chasing us. It doesn't know if that's the case. It doesn't know if it's slumped in front of the computer. All it works on is sensory feedback. And so we really need to be mindful of our mindset and our movement here. Can you see the three coming together? Because when this happens, we can really start to take control again of our health and well-being. And after today, I'd love you to not only notice for yourself your postures, but start looking around, because what you'll see is everybody's movements, everybody's posture is a reflection of their subconscious. Even the way we speak, we might be talking fast, we might be slow. For these different reasons, you can actually get an idea of what kind of phase they're in with their nervous system. Are they in a highly stressed? Are they relaxed? Are they a bit in between? This is what's really powerful, is we start to get very, very aware of everything we do. That's why total somatics is total somatics. It's everything. It encompasses everything, because that's really where we start to understand and take control. So looking at this image here, we can see that we've got a sedentary life, and it's creating a lot of pain, a lot of tension here. And so really what you'll start to see is that when we repeat a movement over and over again, your brain is incredible. It talks to the muscle fibers and it starts to tell them to stay tight for a longer period of time. And then it becomes the new normal. So if you're slumping in front of a computer all day, like you can see with this person here on the left, the muscles through the front of your body will start to just create a new level of normal. They will just stay contracted all the time. So when you get told you're slumping forward and to stand up straight, you'll do it, but it feels so uncomfortable. You go, oh, and you slump back down to the original position. And that's because the programs, the subconscious, is basically telling us to stay in that new normal. And so when that happens, again, that reinforces hormones, it enforces our mindset to become more of sort of anxious or stressed. And I just want you to consider here the person on the right with the bag that's stood up, walking, slumping forward, and the person that's sitting down, looking like they're on the phone or something like that. They're both slumped forward. But let me know in the chat, what do you think is also impacted with this posture? We've considered the muscles, let's consider the joints. But what would you say is fundamental to a person's well-being? If they're stressed, what's the one thing that basically is impacted when we're stressed? I don't know if I've worded that right, but look at their posture here. What would you say? Let me know in the chat. I'll give you, because I know there's a few seconds delay. And hello, Joe from Kent. That's lovely. What would you say? So I'll give it a few more seconds in case any of you are typing away. But you see, when we are in this constant contracted, yeah, you got it. Anyone else got it? Let me just share that with you. So Amy said breathing. Absolutely. Yep. Denise. Yep. Oh, Catherine. Hi, Catherine. I know who the Catherine is. Um, yeah, and digestion, absolutely spot on. Any other comments, please share them. Absolutely brilliant. Because this is what's happening is when you're in that slumped position, we can sometimes just think about muscles and joints, but your rib cage is heavily depressed. If it's heavily depressed, it's basically going to impact our breathing. It's going to make the breathing shallow. When it makes the breathing shallow, and then that starts to relay back to your nervous system that we're in a stress situation. And then, as Catherine said, digestion is impacted. And that's spot on, because remember, there's this constant, it's like a ripple effect. Your digestive system is going to be impacted when when you're in a stress response. So if you're holding a stressful posture, if your breathing is impacted because we've got limited mobility in your rib cage, all of that information is relaying to your brain to say we're in a stress survival situation. That then changes the actions in your body. And as Catherine's just said, digestion. Because when you're in a stress response, the last thing you're going to do is sit down and have a meal. You're going to run for your life. So a lot of the blood supply leaves the digestive system and it goes like to the heart and to the limbs to run or fight or flee. And so you can see there that you're all on that same page there, that we are considering the global approach. That's what Total Somatics is looking at globally. So we don't just look at the posture, we look at the constant habits and the interactions with other physiological impacts within the body. And so we want to be able to discharge this movement. We want to discharge this tension that's built up within. And so that's why what I want to share with you is that within Total Somatics, we actually do a lot of work. There's lots of regulation strategies. So there's things that we can do just to dial down the stress response. But also there's lots of ways to bring back muscle memory. Because consider, if you've spent years immobilized, and when I say that, I mean locked down, shut down, tight, and all these things, in a slump position, your brain has lost that stimulation between the part of your brain that talks to those muscles to create movement. So when we start doing total somatic movement, what we start to do is wake up your brain. And can you imagine what your beautiful brain's going to think when it's getting all this stimulation? It's going to create all these new neural connections or synaptic connections. It's going to create something called neurogenesis, which is the creation of new brain cells. So basically, we're making your brain younger, we're making it fresher, making it vibrant. Variety is the spice of life, and our brain loves that. So, what we're going to start doing is bringing back movement and awareness practices and ways to regulate your nervous system. And that's everything that I can teach you and I can share with you. And so this is why I want to really mention now about Total Somatics, because I just want to let you know, if you have been sitting on the fence and not sure, I have just opened the membership doors. So if you want to join, please do. I'll give you a little bit more information shortly. The membership doors only open for a few days, so they're going to close on Friday the 10th of November. I had to think where I was for a moment in the year. It's going so quick. And so what I want to share with you is a few things of why Total Somatics has really, really been powerful for people. And that is because I'm very much aware that we're limited with our time. And even today, I'm keeping the live experience a lot shorter than I have in previous years. People have time constraints. And I know that if we keep this session short, people are more likely to watch it than if it went on for a few hours and there were several of them. So I create content that's respecting your time, but it's also going to be incredibly effective. We're going to be working intelligently with your brain and your body, which means very quickly we can make changes. And the reality is, when you learn the total somatics approaches, you can do it throughout the day because that's the powerful thing. When you actually incorporate it in your day, that's when the magic happens because you're creating a lifestyle change. And that is where we will make long term changes. Because again, referring back to at the beginning, we have ups and downs in life like this. Some days we can take the world on, we feel absolutely brilliant. And other days we feel completely rubbish and we don't want to do anything. So what we're doing is listening constantly to our body. What are we feeling like today? What do we need to do to address different things? And within the membership, there are so many things to address. I mentioned to somebody the other day, because I had a Q&A with everybody yesterday in Total Somatics, and I said to them, don't be too regimented on what you want to do each day. The reality is to be totally somatic. It's noticing how you feel from day to day. There is such a rich banquet of content within the membership for different time constraints, for different health conditions, that what I'd love you to do is it is a buffet style. Take what you need at that point and use it for that day. If that's something that resonates with you, maybe continue that practice for the rest of that day or the rest of that week. See how you feel. This is why it's like we exist in time. And I'm sure you'd agree with with me on this, that how you feel today is different to how you felt a week ago. It's going to be different to how you feel next week. So we can't plan too far ahead on what we're going to do for our schedule when it comes to our nervous system, because we don't know what we're going to encounter. But what I can reassure you is within the membership, there is so much there that there is plenty of information and support and strategies to help you throughout all of this. So, what I want to share with you is just a few comments from people over the time. And we've got one here just regarding total somatics and just showing that because, I want you to hear from other people, not just hear from me about this. But people have got they found that the workshops have been really helpful. I've got resources that are very specific to helping again with anxiety, with stress, with overwhelm. And for this reason, this person in particular has said, that's what's really been powerful. And then I just want to share this one here. I have an entire section that's for fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and burnout. And so, for that reason, this person has found it incredibly useful. I do encourage everybody in the membership, though, to go into these areas such as the burnout and fibromyalgia, because it's really good to challenge ourselves to make things smaller, to make micro movements, because we are still changing the stimulation in our brain. But sometimes it's good to challenge our practice. We can get stuck in a bit of a rut sometimes. And then I just want to share this one here where the lady, the person has said that the information like the neuroscience and the anatomy has been great because it's allowed them to understand what's truly going on underneath their skin. And for that reason, again, it just really helps you to deepen your understanding because remember we talked before about overwhelm and anxiety, and people can tell you a lot of conflicting information. But when you understand the science, when you understand psychology, when you understand how it all comes together and your own personal life experiences, then you can start to see how we can use these techniques and skills that are specific for what you need that day. And then we've got somebody here that's basically said that she thinks it's a great investment. She's been using it for quite some time as well, and it's been really helpful. This was quite interesting as well when I think about how people need to manage their nervous system. And this person was saying that they were involved in the workshops, and very quickly they found how it improved their quality of sleep. That's what's really powerful. And I just want to share some little geeky information with you on sleep, for instance, because I used to, when I worked in neurophysiology years ago, I specialized in sleep disorders. So I love anything to do with sleep. And what happens is when we get a good quality of sleep, our brain cells shrink by 60%. And when they shrink, this is why I say we're so amazing, so amazing. When they shrink, let me just take my slides off because I want to share this with you. When they shrink, imagine that's one brain cell and that's another. They shrink in the night when we're asleep and they create little canals, these little channels between the brain cells. And while we're asleep, a cleaning department comes out and it cleans between the channels or between the canals, those little gaps, and it takes all the plaque away, the amyloid plaque. You might have heard of that. So it's taking beta amyloid, it's taking the plaque away to clean up your beautiful brain. And then when you wake up, it gets fat and juicy again, and those brain cells swell up again. And what's really important is that we keep a good quality of sleep, because when that amyloid plaque builds up, it's been shown to in MRIs, when there's a lot of plaque, that's where there's a lot of sort of Alzheimer's dementia aspects there. So can you see, so important that we do get a good night's sleep? And that's why I wanted to share that testimonial with you, because that person actually found how quickly, when you dial down that stress response, when you bring in embodiment practices rather than living in your head, but embodying, feeling and sensing everything, feeling safe within your body. That's really important. That's again techniques that I teach you in the membership. To feel fully safe and centered within is powerful. And that's what this person was experiencing. And when we do that, then we can really help with the cleaning department in the night by helping to keep our brain beautiful and fresh. And consider, we want to keep our brain fresh, get the cleaning department to do their job when we're asleep. We wake up, we do some of our practices throughout the day, our total somatics practices, our mindfulness practices of noticing how we're sitting, how we're standing, what we're reading, what we're watching. When we do this, when we start to get very sensitive, then we start to change the wiring in our brain. And remember, we create all those beautiful, fresh brain cells, those new brain cells here. So let me just share with you a couple of others where somebody's mentioned that they've got pain in they had pain in their hip and their back, and it's helped immensely. So this again is why I just want to share with you, there is huge sections for hip and back release techniques. And also, just as we come towards the end here, this came through recently. This was in relation to other comments that people were making within the Total Somatics Facebook page. And it was really interesting because I met this lady here in clinic. She's also been involved in getting some of the videos and things from me. And she's just done so well. Her chronic pain and high levels of pain have dropped quite significantly. So she's over the moon about that. And so that's why I want to share this all with you, because it's so important that we have a structure, we have a pathway where we can create focus and clarity towards helping us with improving our posture, our movement, our mindset, mobility. And so this is what I want to share, is that if you ever want to come into the Total Somatics membership, I only open it a few times throughout the year. My focus is to be fully attentive to the members, and the members will testify to that as well, that I'm really focused on what they need all the time. We've got constant dialogue, contact people through Messenger, constantly listening to what they need, what they require. And so because of that reason, you can see that the total somatics pathway is structured in different ways. It's here to address many people. There's a lot of people in the membership that have come from different backgrounds and are in total somatics for different reasons. It might be for their own personal health and well-being. It might be they're a practitioner and they want to upskill. So there's all these different techniques. And so that's why I just want to be able to share with you that there is a huge banquet of information. So if you do want to join, the membership doors are open now. I'm also just going to share with you here. So we've got this running along the bottom so you can see. And that is that totalsomatics.com/join-now. But if you want to just go to totalsomatics.com, click on the join now tab at the at the top, should I say, and come on in. So you can see there's huge content for you. But for $37 US, and that will stay the same price. It doesn't change. So if you come into the membership, and it will change in the future, the price will go up, and people that have been in the membership for a while, they're locked in at another price. You will stay at this price. It will never go up again. And that's a big thank you for your loyalty, for staying with me within the membership. Also, what you'll notice is you've got huge resources, a lot of resources there. But then as the time goes on, there's going to be even more content and you're still paying that same price. So can you see it's huge? And work out if you were going to a class, how much you would be paying a week or a month, and work out how much this is going to be for you. But you've got it at your fingertips 24/7. You've also got me. I'm constantly there supporting you, asking queries and questions. I have a lot of Q&A sessions, but I also answer people privately. So that's why you will only see the membership doors open periodically, because I'm very much focused on taking care of people within the membership. So there's a lot of information there. And also, again, just wanted to show you that within there, within the membership, I also have a section that's got other experts from around the world that have got a somatic view to different areas of life. And for that reason, it's really, really good, because I feel it's healthy for you to hear from other people, not just from me. And so when you see these other people in the membership, it just helps you to build a greater capacity of knowledge and skills and strategies that you can move forward with. So again, this is really just to let you know, membership doors are going to close on Friday, the 10th of November. They'll open again sometime next year. We again will just manage how that goes, because obviously I want to take care of everybody that's in the membership. But please do join if you can come along. And if things get tough, financially, I don't want you to ever worry about that, because people are not locked into this. You can cancel at any time. So there's not like a waiting period or anything like that. You can either just let us know, you can let the tech team know, or you can just finish the payments there. So there's so much flexibility. And remember, I'm here to support you. I want to help you to move forward with your health and well-being by keeping it at a reasonable cost, but then just helping again by creating that further content. As I say, you can get hold of me through Messenger. There's lots of ways that you can do that. So I'm just sending my love to you. Big, big thank you. And so let me just go back to my comments and have a look to see what we've got happening here. So yes, I think just want to share with you all, Joe. So Joe, thank you for joining from the UK. So because it's now getting on in the evening for you all. So thank you so much for joining me today. As I said, please come along if you want to join the membership. That's what I'm here for. And again, totalsomatics.com, and then go to the join now page. So I wanted to keep it under an hour for you so that you can get on and enjoy the rest of your evening or the rest of your day or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. But I just want to send all my love, all my kisses, all my best wishes to you all. Don't keep checking out every week. So there'll be one next week, nothing today because of having this session. But every week I've got the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast. It's available on all podcast channels, but also you can find it on this YouTube channel as well if you're watching this through YouTube. So again, all my love, all my best wishes, and I will catch you very, very soon. Oh, let me just check. There's another comment that's come through. Let me just check where we are here. Oh, bless you. Thank you. I'm just going to share because I just like to share the love with everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. That's so kind. Thank you so much for staying on wherever you are. I can't remember where you are in the world, but thank you so much. All my love, all my best wishes to you all. And I will see you soon. Keep in touch. Keep your questions coming. Remember, that's what helps create the podcast content as well. So I'm always here for you. But I hope to see you within the Total Somatics membership. So just one more time, just so that you've got that, because there are still people bringing comments in. So I just want to share with you there. But let me just come back. So you've got that information, and just want to share again. Thank you there, Catherine, so much for your info. No, not a problem at all. So thank you so much. That's all the information, totalsomatics.com. Join now, and I hope to see you soon. Membership doors finish or close, should I say, on the 10th of November. So I'll see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.